it's funny, I thought losing to Tottenham I'd be far more annoyed than I actually was. Don't get me wrong, I'm disappointed to not be in the Cup. I really am. However, there was so much promise in what I saw that it's given me a lot of hope for the rest of the season. It really has. It's quite funny. When we were doing the build-up show, myself and Gio, somebody was suggesting that David Moyes should be sacked. Now I know we're talking about such a minority here who would think that. And listen, everybody's welcome to their opinion. But I stick with what I said a few times. I do think he's our best manager since John Lyall. And it would take something like him getting past Tottenham and getting into a final and winning a final to be able to surpass John Lyall. Don't get me wrong, but I do think he's the best manager we've had since then. And what I think that's done, that performance, aside from sort of give hope between now and the rest of the season, is send a massive message to the board. I think the boards have got away with it a little bit over the past couple of years, let's say. I think the first reason they've got away with it was because of COVID. But I think the other reason they got away with it was because for the past 18 months we've basically been better than Arsenal and Tottenham. So I think as long as we're doing that, and Arsenal and Tottenham are both spending more money than us, as long as we're better than them, the board get a bit of a pass on it, you know? But I think with Tottenham knocking us out of the Cup, with Arsenal beating us comfortably, let's be fair, Arsenal were comfortably better than us in the league. I think it sends a message. I think that it puts the focus back on the board, which is what's our ambition? What are we going to do now? Because I don't think it's necessarily that Arsenal are better than West Ham's finest 11 at our best when we're fit and firing. I think Arsenal basically outplayed an injury-depleted West Ham who were knackered. So I obviously, with that in mind, it goes to suggest that with a bigger squad and a better squad, we can take them on, we can have a go. The Tottenham game was a lot closer. West Ham, I don't think there was a lot in it, and you could probably say, were Tottenham the best tactically in that game? By the end of it, you'd probably have to say they were. But in terms of pressure and possession and just general oomph, not that that's a footballing term, you'd have to say West Ham were the better team. We had Tottenham scrambling around. We had Tottenham on the ropes. I really felt that. In boxing terms, we had Tottenham on the ropes. And Tottenham were basically covering up, just trying to see it out to the end of the 12th round so they could win on points. That's what happened. Tottenham didn't land a glorious blow and until West Ham were out for the count. But I think it was close enough that Moyes might look at it, and I want to deal with a couple of the players in a minute, that David Moyes will look at it and think, if I could just not add him in the team, and if I'd have just not had him in the team, then we'd be a lot better. And I know we speak a lot about transfers in and around transfer window time. It sort of dominates the news, doesn't it? But there was another comment in the build-up, or actually, well, maybe it was afterwards. Afterwards, somebody said in the comments afterwards, I don't know, why does David Moyes persist with Masuaku? I don't know what he sees in him. Well, I don't think he does persist with him. I don't think he does see anything in it with him. Look, I made my case on the review that I thought he should have switched it over. I thought Masuaku was getting skinned time after time. He should have switched it around, but Ben Johnson left back, switched to a 4 at the back. That's what I thought should have happened. But Masuaku is not in there because David Moyes thinks Masuaku is the choice, the chosen one. He's in there because his second choice to play left back is Ben Johnson. His first choice is Cresswell. Masuaku is really his third choice, and even then he don't really want him playing left back. So I don't think there's some big thing where Moyes thinks, this player's wonderful and I'm going to play him there. And the comments suggested that Moyes was blind to Masuaku's deficiencies. He's not. David Moyes knows what they are. He's even spoken about them publicly last week. We have a small squad, and that's fine. I think you can have a small squad. What you can't have is a small squad and players you don't trust or don't like playing. So actually, I'll take 2 players out of that squad right now. In fact, let's take 3, because I think we can. Let's take Masuaku, let's take Yarmolenko, and let's take Fredericks out of that squad. Those are 3 squad places. Replace them, players, with with players that Moyes would trust, a new left-back, one that he likes. Choose your name, whatever one you think we might have been linked with. Actually, we don't get linked with very many, which is a slight worry, by the way, because we get linked with lots of centre-backs and lots of strikers, so which indicates that maybe that's the area we're looking in. But I think if you take those 3 players out, and you were to get another left-back, I don't think you'd get rid of Fredericks. We need another right-back, because we just don't need it. We've got Soufal, we've got Johnson who cover both wing, we've got Ashby coming through. Just don't need it. But actually, you use that squad place for a centre forward, and then you take the Yarmolenko place, whatever, another utility player, whatever the case may be, but somebody that Moyes wants to use. And I don't think as much, and this is why I think the pressure goes onto the squad here, because you can look at that, and Moyes can take that as evidence to the sorry, did I say squad? I meant board. Moyes can take that as evidence and go to the board and say, look, we ain't far away. We ain't far away. We've had a dip, just purely because everybody's knackered. If I'm going to fight on all fronts, I'm not sure the board want him to fight on all fronts, but the team are so good that even when we're not really trying at the start of the... I say not trying's not the right word, but even when we're not putting our best teams out at the start of these competitions, be it in the Europa Cup or the Europa League, whatever it's called, or in the League Cup, we're still getting through. Why? Because we're well organised, and actually we're a good team, and our 2 reserve centre-backs are pretty damn good. So if what we want to do is do better than this, it is time to buy some players. And now I want the focus to be back on the board. So because without being funny, if Kretinsky can't come in... I'm not criticising him. He's done nothing wrong yet, Kretinsky. Nothing, by the way. He may well supply some funds and we buy some players. But if he doesn't, what's the bloody point? I mean, what's the point in him coming in? I'm not expecting fortunes. I know I sort of covered it the other day. But it just feels like we're so close. And that top... Everyone's calling it a top 2, Liverpool and City, but it feels like a top 3, you know. It feels like it's slipping away. And not just that, it's now starting to feel more and more like the 4th place is almost Tottenham's and Arsenal's to fight it out for. Now, actually, our points tally's really good. So how much do they want it? Because actually, if we don't show that we want it, there's no guarantee that we're going to come in and get sick for anything like that. We've got to do it, because the other thing is, and I keep worrying about this, that the more Declan Rice plays well, the more he's going to want to be off. And he was great against Tottenham again. I mean, did you feel when you were watching it that he kept on drifting? He knew the weakness on that left side, so he kept on trying to help Masuaku out. One of the truest things was when Gio said in the review that he was also frustrated with Masuaku going forward. I was watching it thinking, just cross the ball, mate. Cross the ball now. And it just wouldn't come, and it wouldn't arrive. And I understand in the first half we were waiting a little while because we were waiting for Souček to get in there. But even when it was hitting the first man. He did do one really good cross, by the way, which the defender headed out, Bowen. We actually won a corner from it. But my point is, it doesn't take much to tweak that team. It really doesn't. But I think firstly I was uncomfortable with the criticism of Moyes, really. Don't be critical of him in terms of any football discussions open, right? I think he could have done better tactically. I think he should have swapped it around. But I think there's a difference between saying, he should have swapped this player, substituted that player, done a different starting lineup, to saying, that's it, throw the baby out the bathwater, sack Moyes now. I mean, I don't agree. As I say, I know it's a very, very small minority saying it. Well, it's a very small minority. I've heard two people say it. Which ain't, I don't know how many views the preview will get, the build-up show and all the rest of it. Many thousands, I hope, anyway. So 2 people is not reflective of the fan base. I get that. I really get that. But I'm really buoyed and I'm really positive, actually, in how good the team is. And it's just me thinking how good we can become and what we can do, which just get those couple of signings in there. Everyone wants some new signings. Everyone wants new players to come in. But we were that good that when Tottenham retreated, and they did retreat, by the way, they massively retreated in that game, that when Tottenham retreated, we just didn't have that extra forward to chuck on there and have a right old pop at them and have a right old go. 2 forwards in the box. It ain't great that we can all sit here and point the finger, whoever it is, David Moyes or the board, for not bringing an Antonio replacement. I know some people say the board didn't want to give him the money, but I did have money to spend, to be honest with you. Some people say it's dithering Dave. Want to see some ambition. I think what we've got to get our heads around on this, I think our expectations as fans, we're ahead of where David Moyes thinks we are. David Moyes probably thinks what we're doing now we should be doing in 2 years' time. But I was pleased. I was really, really pleased with the performance. Not with the result. The result was bad. But I thought losing to Tottenham was going to ruin me Christmas in many respects. I don't think I am, actually. There was enough in there to have me really looking forward to the next game. It really does. I think the next game is Boxing Day. It's Southampton Boxing Day. I hope they don't call it off anyway. I'm meant to be going to that. So, there we go. Anyway, all in all, disappointing, but far more positives than negatives. I think the squad looked fresh, the team looked fresh, and I think we're ready to have a right old go in the second half of the season. But what we don't want to happen is what's just happened in the League Cup to happen in Europe as well. So if we're going to advance, if we're going to push on and we're going to have a right old go in Europe and try and go for the European place in the Premier League, Moyes needs help. And not only does Moyes need help, Moyes has to allow himself to be helped. Bring some players in.
Goldie, Brady, Sully, Horsevich, Jack the Junior, Sully, Goldie's mate, Kretinsky, Horsinski, and Jack Jr. Don't forget about Goldie's son-in-law.